Hello everybody! Welcome to the first installment of Nat's Book Club, the series where I, Nat, read a book and talk about it to an audience of myself. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to be splitting things up into different sections. I have about 6 of them. The first 3 are going to be entirely spoiler-free, just in case anybody who's watching also wants to read the book and wants to wait until after they've read the book to get the spoiler part, whatever. Then the second part, the last 3 sections, are where the spoilers begin. I'll make sure to, this is timestamp right here where the spoilers begin. I'll be sure to give another reminder right before that section begins. So today, we're going to be talking about a book called Planet Barbarians. I think it got pretty popular on TikTok. Section 1 is going to be the premise of the book in my own words. Section 2 is my initial thoughts going into it. Section 3, would I recommend the book? Section 4, this is where the spoilers will begin. A more in-depth synopsis of the whole story, the whole book. Section 5 is how I felt reading it and some of my own notes and opinions about the book. And Section 6 is my favorites about the book. So like favorite characters, favorite scenes, etc. Anything I really wanted to just mention. I do want to mention right here, right now, I have my laptop right here and I have all my notes written down. I have a little bit of a script going on here. I am very scatterbrained. If I did not do this, I would not remember what to say. So if you see me staring down here a lot, it's just because I'm reading that. We good? We good. So section 1, the premise. There are a group of girls, mostly from America and mostly around the age of 22, who are abducted by stereotypical aliens to be sold off, likely for breeding purposes. So like the little green guys with the big heads and the bulbous black eyes, those types of aliens. The aliens were only supposed to take 6 women, but ended up taking an extra 9 women to earn some extra cash, probably. Meaning there are a total of 15 women that they've just plucked out of their homes and abducted. Something happens. Don't ask me what, because I don't actually know what happens. And the unknown aliens have to leave their cargo, the women, on an ice planet. Don't worry, they'll come back. Probably. But the women are injured and low on supplies. So the appointed leader of the group, the protagonist, Georgie, sets out to scout the area and hopefully find something useful. And oh ho ho, does she find something useful indeed. Section 2, my initial thoughts going into it. I've read Ruby Dixon books before, so I knew going into this that it was gonna be basically a monster fucker trashy romance novel. It was an easy read, simply because it was so short. I feel like when you start a book like this, your expectations aren't exactly high because you know it's gonna be trashy, and I think that actually really helped a lot. Despite this, picking it up was a bit difficult, just because it starts off rather boring. It felt a lot like the beginning was going really slow, but like there was just so much going on only just a couple of pages. There were also some tones and topics that I did not expect going into it. I don't want to mention all of them right now, just for spoilers' sake, but there is one that I feel needs to be addressed, simply because it will affect whether or not someone decides to pick this up or not. So before I move forward, I must disclose that this book does require a content warning and not for the smut. I will only be mentioning this right here, right now, and I won't be going into any detail, but this book does contain depictions of sexual assault, and in my opinion, it was handled rather poorly. Section 3, would I recommend this book? So, would I recommend this book? So there's a very certain type of person that would enjoy this book. If you're into monster romances, I think this would probably be rather underwhelming. If you're not used to trashy romance novels, the smut might be overwhelming. I think if you're a regular trashy romance novel reader, you'll probably enjoy this. But I don't think it'll exactly be very memorable. I also think if you're the type to enjoy a good sandbox novel, the type of book or book series that creates a fun world for the reader to play around with and daydream about, you'll probably enjoy this. An example of what I consider a sandbox novel is something like Harry Potter or the ACOTAR Court of Thorns and Roses series, Percy Jackson even. The author has created a really fun world for the reader to engage in, regardless of if the story created for the world is a good story or not. A bit of a disclaimer here, I'm not saying that the stories of any of those books that I just mentioned are bad. I will not state my opinion on any of those books unless I'm making a video specifically about these books. And yeah, that's the end of that section. Section 4, an in-depth synopsis of the whole book. So this is where the spoilers begin. You have been warned. Okay. Georgie is a bank teller from Florida, and she gets abducted by aliens in her sleep. She wakes up to find herself in a cage on an alien spaceship in nothing but her pajamas. And I cannot stress enough that these pajamas are very thin, very light, which is important because she ends up on an ice planet. So another girl, Liz, gives her a rundown of everything that's happening. They were abducted, likely by smugglers. There are 15 of them, 6 of which are in stasis tubes and likely is what the client actually paid for. The other 9 are probably just gonna be sold off to some random clients on the black market or something. When the girls decide to fight back with literal human waste, I'm not joking, Georgie takes a bucket and just chucks it. That is exactly when they're dropped off on an ice planet. A note, they suggest that the reason for their entire chunk of the ship just being dropped onto some random planet is because the girls decided to fight back, but they did not ever actually clarify if that's true. So there's a reassurance that the abductors will eventually come back. Who knows when? Hopefully before everyone dies. 2 girls are killed in the crash. It's said that their necks broke on the impact. Georgie bludgeons in their guard before they do crash, so he's also dead. And most are pretty injured, including Georgie with a very likely broken wrist. Their rations are low, so Georgie decides to go out into the icy world and look for something. Literally anything that might be helpful. Eventually, Georgie stumbles into Vektal's trap. But wait, who the hell is Vektal? Great question. He's the sexy ice planet barbarian love interest. The species is called Sak. I have no clue if that pronunciation is correct. This is how it's spelled. He immediately resonates with Georgie. But wait, what's resonating mean? Another great question. It means she's his one true mate. So soulmate trope, essentially. He meets her and he's so overwhelmed with this need to knock her up. That's exactly what he tries to do right off the bat. So apparently, there's this element in this planet's atmosphere that's toxic. And you can die from it in like a week or something. The way the Sak on this planet have survived over 200 years here on this planet is through a symbiotic parasite called the Kui. This is how it's spelled, and yes, they did confirm it is pronounced Kui. It's this worm that crawls into your heart and adjusts your biology to be better fitted to the planet. It keeps you warm, it heals you faster, and it finds you a suitable mate, does a bunch of other stuff. Now, the tribe of Sak that resides on this planet is called the Sakui. When the Sakui meets their mate, the Kui inside them kind of rumbles or vibrates in their chest. Anyway, moving forward, Vektal is all like, mate, and Georgie is all like, I need to save my friends. But there's this like language barrier that they really don't care all that much about. All that said, Georgie doesn't feel the resonance because she doesn't have a Kui. Like, you need a Kui to feel it. And this confuses Vektal, and he thinks she's just like sick or something. And that's also, that also must be why she's like low-key ugly, even though she's like the most beautiful creature he's ever laid eyes on. Eventually they smash. We all knew it was gonna happen. And while they smash, the other girls on the ship are dying. One of them actually runs out into the middle of the night in terror, and she dies from the cold. They've lost 3 women now. It's a whole thing. Vektal and Georgie, on their way to fetch a rescue team from the Sakui tribe, stumble upon this cave, except it's not a cave, it's a spaceship. The one the original Sak came to this planet on. Surprise! The Sak are not the indigenous species of this planet. The ship has got a supercomputer that speaks hundreds of languages and embeds the Sak language into Georgie's mind. So language barrier gone. Quite convenient, if I do say so myself. They get the rescue team, and I should also mention here that there's 5 women and 20 men in the whole tribe. There's practically a 1-to-4 ratio of women and men. So when the Sakui men hear there's breedable women that their kui might resonate with, they get really excited, concerningly so. So the rescue commences, and at some point, Georgie hears one of the Sakui men purring when they see the human women, which basically means that they've resonated with one of them. And Georgie is all sorry, I need this to really properly convey the emotion. Who is that? Which one of you resonated? Wait, I can do it again. I can do it better. I promise. Who was that? Which one of you? Which one of you resonated? I can't do better. Later, the girls discuss what they're gonna do next. Here is where I probably should mention Georgie is pregnant. Yeah. At the beginning, she was all at least I won't have to worry about getting pregnant because we're different species and all. And then she learned that the whole point of resonating is reproduction. The Sakui can only reproduce offspring with their resonant partner. And it's here that I realized that the whole premise was one giant breeding kink, and I felt gross all over. So they basically have 3 options. Option 1, they wait for the original aliens to come back and hope that the women and Sakui are strong enough to overpower them. They are not. The little green fuckers have guns. Option 2, they stay on the planet and die of what they call kui sickness, which is basically dying due to toxic levels of that element that's on this planet. And option 3, adopt a kui symbiont, and be forced to stay on this planet forever, because once you have a kui, you literally cannot live without it anymore, no exceptions. And the kui also can't leave the planet or else it'll die, therefore neither can you leave the planet or else you'll die. Whatever. So they have to choose fast, because the trackers that were put in their arms, by the way, they had trackers put into their arms, there were signals from those trackers that went off, signifying that the original aliens were on their way to pick them up. So they wake up the other 6 girls in the tubes and choose option 3. Afterwards, the original green fellows come back, look for them, realize they're not there, and leave, likely to smuggle other human women as replacements for their lost cargo. The end. Section 5. Feelings and opinions. I'm not even gonna lie, I felt really icky. I think I mentioned it earlier in this video. I just felt really icky. I was kind of getting into it until I realized that every single woman would have to take a kui and therefore would have to find the resonance eventually, and therefore they would all have to have children. Vektal actually mentions a few times in the book that this many women will save their species from extinction. I think I'd feel a little less weird about it if some women were yeah, kids just aren't in the cards for me, and that's the end of the discussion. Or some women were yeah, I kind of want to wait, but unfortunately it seems with the resonance, it's kind of, kids are an immediate thing. So waiting, I don't think, is exactly an option. The pacing is a little bit weird as well. When I was writing out all that happened in the book, I realized that when I cut out all of the smutty bits, there really wasn't a lot of content. It felt like a lot just because of all the world building and because of how long was spent on each smutty scene. The chapters are a little bit weird. I think there are technically only 6 chapters, but there were a bunch of like sub chapters that changed perspective between Georgie and Vector. I also wish we had lingered longer on the abductors, but I'm not going to complain too much about that plot coming to an abrupt stop with no real conclusion. Just because I haven't read the future books or the rest of the series, for all I know, it's like a whole plot that stretches out into one of the future books, and I just haven't gotten there yet. However, if this is the last time we hear about those green little fuckers, what a goddamn waste. There's like so much that could have been done with them. I think that also kind of brings up another point. I wish that there had been some more time between the women meeting the Saqui and them accepting a Qui of their own. I think there's a lot of moments that we could have had a lot of build up that we just kind of rushed through. Like it felt a lot like a premature ejaculation. Glad we got there. I wish we could have lasted a little longer. Oh, hey. Hi. Welcome to Section 6. My favorites. So, my favorite character was a girl named Kira. She was one of the extra girls. The green guys realized that they couldn't communicate with any of the humans, so they installed a translator onto Kira's ear. They describe it as like literally they just stapled it onto her. And I think this was a really interesting concept that they had. I wish that they had played around with a little bit more. My favorite scene, I think there was 2. First one was when Vector is trying to get Georgie to eat. The Saqui eat everything raw. Humans do not. He's like, why won't this stupid bitch eat? And she's all like, you gotta cook it. And he's like so offended. He's like, you want me to burn off the flavor? And then when she meets another Saqui and she realized how fucking disgusting she is. Vector had only ever made her feel like the most beautiful creature in existence. So when she's faced with someone else, it's only then that she realizes how gross she is. I thought that was a really cute moment. The other creature, they're like, what is this thing and why is it so ugly? And it was a really fun moment. All right, conclusion. So if you liked this video, I cannot guarantee that I will be doing more, but maybe I will. Subscribe if you want. You can follow me on Instagram as well at Natanya Miriam. If there's a book you want me to read, let me know. Leave a comment maybe. I might make a video. Who knows? Or not. I do what I want. It's 3:34 a.m. Have a lovely rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody. I'm gonna cry if I have to re-record all of this. Okay.